Hello, you gorgeous gamers. As per usual, welcome back to the weekly Esports Rewind podcast. My name is Jake. This is Hunter. As per usual, read off comments first. If you guys want to leave comments, that's awesome. My one is actually coming from Mr. Lees. He says, day 2 of telling Jake to sort the volume out for his videos. They're so quiet compared to everyone else, which is true, actually. I keep my volume lower than anyone else on YouTube, and I'm trying my best. Just crank it all the way up, and hopefully that will be a solution. I'm sorry. I'm working on it. What do you got, Hunter?
Well, I thought he was saying, like, compared to everyone else on this channel, your volume's so
Which
low.
is just
and I
you.
was like, my bad. Like, that's on me.
He tunes into your video. You're just like,
yelling the whole time. I've got Zap, who just says, in all caps, buck, 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 and then put a chicken emoji.
That's our boy, Zap. We hope you all enjoyed, though. Some crazy stories this week. Here's the breakdown. And at the point of us recording, breaking news out there, that being TSM, one of the largest deals ever in esports, which, as per usual, you're going to draw your haters, you're going to draw controversy. I think the headline being as it is, it sets a precedent for future gigantic esports deals. If you guys did somehow miss it, TSM, $210 million, a 10-year deal with a crypto exchange known as FTX. The primary part of this deal being that for the next 10 years, every TSM esports lineup will not be TSM, but they will be TSM FTX, which is, as $210 million, one of the largest deals ever in esports history.
It's a lot of money for 3 letters. So, I mean, they did double the amount of letters in their name. But
I know, but
that's a lot of money for 3 letters.
I mean, at face value, I like that, you know? I mean, I understand that people, when it comes to crypto, will the exchange itself last 10 years? Will TSM last 10 years? Not really what we're kind of talking about right now, just the overwhelming figure of 10 years. If it does go to its full extent, I mean, why would you not? For 3 extra letters, I don't think fans really mind it that much.
Well, and I mean, maybe you know, but we don't know anything about the deal. Like, you could have said the same thing about Ninja going to Mixer and being like, oh, this much money for that many years? Like, how? That's an awful idea. And then it ends early, and he got paid out by it. So, who knows? I don't think that probably isn't how it'll work for TSM. Like, they probably won't get paid out their, $200 million if it ends next month or something like that. But I imagine, like, this is worthwhile for them in any capacity. I don't know what the reason really for being upset is, but if you want to compare it, I saw some crazy comparisons. What was it with Miami Heat for a little while of like how much they got paid and how much more TSM is getting paid for similar rights.
Yeah, so it was actually Miami Heat. The renaming of their arena, or the naming of their arena, I believe was just around $75 million less, and their deal was 9 years longer. I might be speaking out of my arse on the finite details, but either way, TSM, across all of their esports teams, being paid out more than the Miami Heat for the renaming of an arena for a shorter deal. Yes, you can't say to the extent because they aren't renaming the players' names.
Right.
Or, of course, Miami Heat is just one team as compared to several for TSM, but still, I think it sets a precedent for future esports organizational deals, which is going to be cool to see. You know, if you're Liquid, if you're Cloud9, if you're 100 Thieves, if you're FaZe, you now know what a deal like this can fetch you, and vice versa. If you're a brand looking to approach an esports organization, this is now setting precedent for these gigantic deals that other orgs have a chance at, and for me alone, that's incredible.
I feel like it had to be, and again, like you said, could be speaking out of my arse here, I feel like from a marketing perspective, I bet their argument was, hey, yes, Miami Heat's big, they're a staple in the mainstream, but we have this many more views, this many more people see our brand than people see the Miami Heat brand.
Yeah.
And so we are this much more valuable than they are in the space of like getting your brand recognized and getting like notoriety to who you are. And so then they paid the big bucks,
which is
for it.
100% true across all of TSM's platforms, and the reach and the players and the teams. It probably is viewership wise so much larger than Miami Heat for the arena. I mean, even if you're going to name, you're not going to change individual NBA players' names, right? Which I'm not sure if that's part of the deal for TSM, because for Reginald, I believe his thing now says TSM FTX Reginald. But I think for someone like Myth, it doesn't necessarily connect to him. So we don't know the finite details. Overall, I apologize. I've been holding back a giant cough the entire time. But it's great. And I cannot wait to see if TSM can pull these kind of numbers, who is next, and who that partnership will be with. Very lastly, we've seen other teams do this. The General NRG for Rocket League, Dignitas Vive for CSGO, Dignitas Quantum Pay for their LCS lineups, and tons of Asian teams have done this for far, far less. So at the very end of the day, whether or not you appreciate TSM or if you want to see this in a bad light, for me, it's a gigantic plus for the future of other esports orgs, and we'll see who does it next. I am really struggling here, folks, holding back coughs, so just a warning for all podcast listeners. Some big old Valorant spicy headlines do continue this past week with Cloud9 White. As of me recording, or us recording, have not given a response on a semi-dramatic situation all around supposed leaked VODs. To give you guys as quick of a TLDR as possible, it's Cloud9 White member, that being Mel. She calls out a male team known as Insight GG for apparently leaking VODs of their scrims against each other. It was then, of course, Insight giving a response, one of their players saying it was not a leaked VOD, it was actually a screenshot of the scoreboard as well as a short clip of him acing them, which he did apologize for, not something you should be sharing. It's then Insight, apparently their female team, leaving partially due to harassment they received of people thinking it was the female team who leaked the stuff against Cloud9 White, but it was actually their male team. Then it's that same female lineup who left supporting Mel in all of this, and even further, Insight's coach denying that apparently Cloud9 White have evidence of additional things being leaked, which Mel said in her apology, where she also said it's all good, but clearly in her apology, it's not all good. If you guys followed me, then you know where we are. If you didn't, then you're probably lost like me, which is why I'm waiting for a Cloud9 White response.
I don't even know. Definitely, I am ignorant to a lot of these things of like why it was such a big deal to begin with. Of like, I understand the courtesy factor and like you're obviously not supposed to leak VODs from private matches or scrims because it can imply bigger things for the rest of the season, which could affect shareholders, people like that. Like, it can affect a lot of things and how people view your team, especially in a private match in a practice. But at the same time, like you said, like why bring that up if there wasn't actually that big of a problem at first and like all the implications that had. But then I can also understand the other guy's point of view where it's like, oh, like I got a sick ace and like I wanted to like record it.
It was naive, right? Like you didn't realize what you were sharing until you already shared it.
Right.
From Cloud9 White's stance, it's apparently any competitive advantage that is going to be given to future Cloud9 White opponents in other female teams, which is what they're accusing, is going to hurt them. So, of course, they're going to get mad at that.
Right.
Some people thinking maybe they took it a bit too far on Insight because it was not a VOD. That's what Insight's claiming. It was not a VOD. It was a short clip and a scoreboard to which they apologized for. And then Cloud9 Mel responds saying, no, it was other material that was given to potential future opponents that they have evidence for, but they have not shown that evidence. And then you have a coach from Insight coming out and saying that's not true. You don't have it. That's BS.
In this case, the whole organization, not just the female roster or the male roster, the female roster got hate, the staff got hate. Everyone on Insight has received some sort of DM or harassment, okay? Not only did you tweet one, but you decided to tweet two, okay? You said literally scrimmed them for the first time yesterday and they got the nerve to leak VODs. What is wrong with you people? First of all, again, with this tweet, there is no evidence, okay? You've never once gotten a piece of evidence of a VOD being sent. You were using words that were being said and putting them into your own that they were actually VODs when, we'll get into this later, but you stated that you heard from female teams that stuff was getting leaked, right? And no one ever said VODs, okay?
And so why people want Cloud9 White to respond is to clear up what exactly is going on, because then you throw in the fact that Insight's female team left, which Insight claimed was due to partial harassment from the Cloud9 accusation, but then that same female team is siding with Cloud9 White. So if you're confused, we're right there with you. It's probably not near as dramatic as everyone is making it out to be, but we'll see if Cloud9 White do respond and clear the air, or they keep quiet, and then we'll talk about it probably next week sometime. So yeah, next one. I could try.
Toast had a clip this week that I'm not sure if you actually saw. I don't think you did, but it could be taken the wrong way by a lot of people. This was Toast talking about his servers. As we know, Toast has a lot of things like Rust. We have Minecraft, GTA that he's been involved in, where they have these big streamer servers that everyone wants to get into. They post about it, and Toast has blown up on YouTube, so everyone's like, yo, like, can I play? Can I get in? Let me get in.
Yeah.
And so his audience watching the stream a lot of times would be like, hey, how come there's not more smaller streamers in this? Like, this would be a great opportunity, to lift up the smaller streamer and give them the spotlight a little bit. And so Toast responded to that in a way that I think a lot of people could take the wrong way by saying, hey, I'm not going to invite just any smaller streamer just because sometimes there's a reason they're smaller streamers and they need to be entertaining to be on this server.
This is my take on small streamers. I've said before that pisses a lot of small streamers off is when I, like, for example, when I announced the server, someone said, hey, why aren't you inviting small streamers? It's like, do you want me to invite streamers that are small purely based on the fact that they are small? Go f yourself. Okay, this ain't a charity. I'm not doing handouts here. Small streamers are generally small because they're bad streamers, and that's why they're not getting big. There are some streamers that have potential, yes, and I would love to give them a chance. But they're not getting a chance because they're small. They're getting a chance because they have potential.
Yeah, I mean, it comes off to me as something that could be taken the wrong way, but maybe should not be, because it does have backing. You know, you can't always expect someone of his caliber to just randomly invite whoever. Sometimes, I mean, he doesn't have to. Right? And I do understand the fact that this is a great opportunity for smaller streamers out there. That doesn't mean you're entitled to be invited just because you are smaller. I will say, if someone like Ninja said this, instantly it probably would be painted in a very, very negative light. And it seems as of late, no matter what Toast does, there's someone trying to come at it as if it's some kind of controversy. It reminds me of Ninja when he was saying he doesn't want to stream with females, you know, in a one-on-one setting, which to me had logical backing after he further explained his reasoning. But at face value, at headline value, when it's Ninja does not want to play with female streamers, it sounds very bad until you look into it and hear their side of things, which is how I felt with Toast. I don't think it's near as big as some people, the few people, are making it out to be.
I think it's something that people can take the wrong way if they just saw that one clip of Toast and don't know anything about him, and they see him saying that small streamers are often small for a reason, and that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, because a lot of people are small streamers. You know, a lot of people are on Twitch, you know, trying to do their thing, and he does admit, he says, a lot of small streamers do have potential, and that, like, that's real, and they have potential, they could blow up, but also a lot are small streamers just because they're not very good at what they're doing, which is a spicy comment, but you have to imagine DisguisedToast is one of the best in the game, right? Like, he's been doing this for a while. He's been very successful with a lot of different audiences. And so you have to kind of trust his advice on that of like, hey, I know what works, and I know some people don't do it super well. I'm not going to invite just anyone to my servers, but certainly ruffled a few of the wrong feathers, I would say, but made his point clear. I think he doesn't really care what people think on this one.
Yeah, and that's probably the best thing you do in most situations. So, I mean, yes, I think in the future there'll still be opportunities. It's not a complete shut door of like, if you're a small streamer, you're never going to be here kind of thing. But yeah, to your point, if my mom was listening out of nowhere and she heard that, oh, what a rude man. But again, you look any further besides the face value clip, I think a lot of people understand that reasoning. So we'll see who is actually lucky enough to get a chance with Toast and on those servers in the future. The Valorant drama did continue this past week. Of course, we got to talk about it. It was probably one of the more talked about things that was also very tough to watch. We talked about this on the recap, that being a situation which Sentinels members have put themselves in, that being Shahzam, still technically a current teammate in Sinatraa, as it was actually Sinatraa inviting him to play a game of Valorant, something they did just briefly before Riot Games and their investigation came out with a 6-month suspension for Sinatraa, which even then people kind of question, but especially after the information that came out from Riot Games where they blatantly said that Jay did not cooperate in the investigation or hand over a prime piece of evidence, it left, I would say, a lot more of his supporters in kind of a weird spot of not really knowing what to think. And so it was actually briefly after Riot Games' investigation, within a couple of days, he comes back to streaming and he starts talking about, you know, trying to find other players to play with. It turns out Shahzam was one of the first to do so, and both their chats took a bit of I would say a questioning of exactly why Shahzam was playing with Sinatraa.
Guys, it's very easy to say, like, don't let them control what you're saying or whatever, or ignore the kids or do what you want. But you don't understand, obviously, you don't understand the situation I'm in. Like, I didn't think it through. Like, it's not to hell with them. People are saying this for a reason, right? I didn't think it through. I just got invited to play. I played. But it was honestly a mistake. I put myself in a really shitty situation.
It's all good, Supreme. This all is It's just sad, honestly. But it's whatever.
Let's make some chaos.
Just gonna grind, bro. It's all good. It's so dumb, bro.
Seemed to me like it was a situation that just neither one of them really thought through in the long run. Like, oh, I'm playing Valorant, which I always play, and I got an invite from one of my former teammates / current teammate, you know, and goes from there and ends up joining his lobby and plays with them, and then doesn't think anything past that. Like, that is all it was at face value. Is this is someone I know inviting me to play Valorant, so I'm gonna play with him. And then it ends up being like, oh, you should have thought about that one, and like you should have thought a little bit more past just playing with him, because we all know there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, and shortly thereafter, into that game, it was actually Sinatraa breaking down and crying and removing his face cam. Ends the stream by, of course, pulling his face cam back up, though, and seemingly coming back from that a bit. They stopped playing with each other, of course, and he is now kind of dodging that situation, which I think is probably the right decision, especially as he continues to serve out his suspension, as there still is an ongoing investigation around such serious claims. I'm sure a lot of people can understand why it is controversial for Shaz to even put himself in those shoes, and I think he realizes that too. During that same game, he realized, like, okay, this is not. People took it very far. There was people in the chat, and Shahzam recognized this, even saying he was supporting those accusations, which is crazy far to assume. This is someone who is clearly still friends with Sinatraa, and to your point, did not think it through the situation he put himself in, which they're not going to put themselves in, so it seems, for the near future, which is probably the right call. I think you're totally right in that the fact that both sides just didn't think it fully out. And so now we wait and see who Sinatraa will be playing with. You know, it does beg the question of, if you are a Twitch streamer or a player or a pro, do you risk that? Not knowing what the outcome is going to be of such a serious situation? Or
even if you're allowed to, like, both of them were like, not both, I don't know, I didn't really listen to the full, like, I listened to what Shahzam was saying and how he was talking about, I'm not even allowed to talk about this thing. And so I imagine that happened, and he probably got, a text from someone at Sentinels being like, hey, like, you can't, like, that's not allowed. Like, you, like, playing with him is signaling this, and, like, that's not a good thing for you to be doing right now. And so I imagine the stress on him for that, stress on Sinatraa in the situation is pretty serious too, because he's going to be getting a lot of heat, not only from Sentinels people, but also I imagine lawyers and people who are involved in that situation. And so I think overall, it's just like, I mean, we say this every single time. It's a hard situation because you don't know how things are going to pan out. They put themselves in a hard situation because they didn't think it fully through, but we'll see if I'm a pro, I'm not going to risk it.
Yeah, because we saw right before Riot Games issued their statement on the investigation and gave out the suspension and said those things about Sinatraa. Before that, everyone was joking around about playing with West Virginia, that being Sinatraa. Before that, there were several pro players who were doing it, who were calming with him, who were asking, some pretty funny questions and blatantly doing it on stream. I don't know if we're going to keep on seeing that. If I was an organization and I had players, I would say, hey, let's just refrain from doing this for now. This is a very serious situation, and we'll wait to see what time does say and what the final outcome is before you put yourself in that kind of situation. But we'll see what happens in the future, and we'll see who Sinatraa is playing with as he continues to stream Valorant.
And speaking of Valorant, they released a little bit of a press release that is Riot Games, and they let out a bit of an information bomb. Valorant is coming to mobile very soon, which I think a lot of people can probably rejoice about because so many folks don't have PCs to play Valorant. A lot of people are still upset because they're like, when's it coming to console? I want it on console, not mobile. But I think it is big news and signals a lot of stuff for the future of mobile gaming because we see Riot Games focusing on Wild Rift, that is League of Legends mobile already, and then focusing on Valorant mobile in the future, which I think just says a lot about, Tencent owns Riot. Mobile games is big in different parts of the world. Yep. They're pushing League of Legends and soon Valorant as a mobile esport. And so I think we might be seeing this explode in the future.
Yeah, I think everyone and their mom probably saw this coming as the next move for Valorant. They do so timely. It was on the 1-year anniversary of Valorant's release, I believe June 2nd. And I don't know if anyone would have guessed the amount they have progressed in that short period of time, both esports-wise and game-wise, has been incredible. As you said, it was an information bomb of 14 million monthly players as well, and that's before the expansion into mobile. Who knows how fast this can expand? And I know you're probably going to bring it up. up, speak of the devil, we talked about TSM to kick this one off. It was actually TSM Reginald talking about mobile gaming with the head of YouTube gaming and Fwiz, who says it's a great time to get in the mobile market, the astonishing viewership they have versus the pretty low entry point to mobile esports and mobile gaming, which TSM also announced. We talked about it for our first story, a $210 million deal with FTX. They're going to use a good hefty portion of that to expand into other regions and expand even further into the mobile gaming scene. So this might be Esports Talk Mobile in the future. We're PC boys. I'm not a mobile fan myself, but I might have to be because seemingly it's the present and it's going to continue to be the future.
I'm not sure. I've seen a lot of organizations that already have. I think even people mentioned like TSM already has a PUBG mobile team.
Yeah.
And so a lot of organizations have these teams in other areas that just North America is kind of the one that's slacking the most. And so I'm most curious to see Fortnite Mobile did a pretty decent job in North America, and we haven't seen a lot of other mobile games really take off here.
Like COD Mobile's doing well, but it's not. You don't hear about top organizations and their COD Mobile teams.
Right, and so I'm curious if with these games that are already very much popular in North America, if because now they have a mobile version, is this going to somehow foster that mobile scene in North America a little bit more, and maybe we'll get some more pros. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's worth it. Like you said, the high level of viewership that is of value to organizations, because the more views you get on things, the more advertisers want to pay you, which is the more money you get, and so the more successful you can probably be, sign bigger names, stuff like that. Versus, like, you don't have to pay that much for a mobile creator, a mobile professional player as of right now. Like you said, it's low acquisition. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money to get into it. And so I could see it happening next few years. Maybe they iron out the kinks. It's cool to see that Valorant is already starting with their mobile instead of waiting 10 plus years like League of Legends did.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see the explosion, but also it's going to be crazy to see because we have some young pros out there already, and we're going to see young mobile prodigies. We're also going to see young mobile cheating scandals. I don't know. It's going to be crazy. We're going to see someone out there go after a 15-year-old mobile prodigy and sign him for 6 years just to be on his phone. It's going to be a wild, wild time, and hopefully we're still around to talk about it. So we'll see if mobile truly is the future. Valorant Mobile certainly going to take a stab at it, and Riot Games continue their progression into a crazy, crazy esports scene. One of the cooler signings this past week that I think is still being underspoken about, that's going to be FaZeClan signing their first female player out there ever since Ewok, and he transitioned. So it's actually cool to see FaZeClan re-expanding into the female market, which 100 Thieves have been doing recently, and I think FaZeClan can really capitalize if they find some great characters like they have in Warzone, that being Kalei, someone commonly known to be a raunchy talker. We've said it. I would never show her tweets to anyone in my family. We've also talked about this. Some things she has said are just like, wow. And you got to respect the fact she has not laid off the gas pedal. And so many people for those reasons thought, you're never going to get signed. You'll never find an organization to find that those inappropriate tweets line up with. If there was an organization to take a risk at her, well, it's no one better than FaZeClan, as they have now officially signed probably the top female name in the Warzone space, FaZe Kalei.
I joined FaZe. We are in FaZe. We are in FaZe. I joined FaZe. We are in FaZe.
It was funny to see the announcement because a lot of people who didn't know who she was would, underneath the announcement, was like, oh, I went to her page and the first thing I saw was her talking about this crusty sock.
Yeah, don't see. I mean,
I'm not going to say why, but
you can assume why.
Talking about a crusty sock, and people were like, oh, so this is who she is. And it's like, yeah, that literally is who she has always embraced being. I think, like we said, it's cool to see someone who did not really compromise on their humor despite the amount of hate that she's gotten. Like, I feel like she's gotten flamed a lot, like you said, for not being more brand friendly, because in this world a lot of organizations base,
especially over the past couple of years,
and base who they want to hire or like as a part of their org on who advertisers are going to be okay with. And so it was funny, I actually haven't said this yet, I just thought of it when we started talking, to see that she got signed to FaZe, and in the past 100 Thieves had been teased about, you know, signing her. Nadeshot had interacted with her. But Nick Merckx comes in, swoops in with FaZe, takes Kalei instead of Nadeshot. FaZe takes another dub.
I mean, yes, you could think about that. Nate Shot has teased on Twitter saying, Kalei, we got to sign you.
Right.
I think at the end of the day, though, I mean, I think FaZe can – is it maybe that FaZe, that is part of their brand and their advertisers are – because Nick Merckx talks about some freaking stuff too. Swag talks about some – so when you think about like – again, though, then you think about 100 Thieves Fuslie. They talked a lot about some stuff that So I mean, who knows? Where's the freaking line when it comes time for organizations and their brands or partnerships and what they accept? Like, do FaZeClan sponsors accept a bit more? Can you ride that line a bit more than 100 Thieves sponsors? We don't know. We don't know those hairy details. But yes, if you want to really look into it, FaZeClan versus 100 Thieves, that battle does continue, and now it expands into the female space, because if you are a female creator and you're looking for two popular organizations, I think you look towards FaZe or 100 Thieves. You might look towards TSM, Liquid, Cloud9 too, but 100 Thieves, 3 of their past 4 signings have been some top female creators. So FaZe trying to combat that. Now the giant question is who's going to be next. I don't know. And we'll see how well FaZe can actually build up someone like Kalei too.
I think I'll say the one thing I thought of when you're talking about that is 100 Thieves did have some notorious brand risks on their hands until recently, which was the Mob, who I always thought that maybe Kalei might somehow find a way, even though they had their beef in the past, and so it's interesting to see different organizations, like you're saying, take these almost, people will say, quote unquote, risks, but not really, like you said. Kind of lines up with who FaZe is, the bad boy, bad girl vibe of FaZe. They're kind of like the rebels, more or less. And so I just hope we can get, I'm crossing my fingers we can get Nick and Kalei into a lobby together to hear some of their wild talk that would happen.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that's allowed anywhere. But either way, great signing from FaZe. Great things from a lot of esports organizations, especially in signing the latest female talent. We will see what female is next to sign to a giant esports organization. Sorry, guys, I was holding back coughs the entire podcast, so thank you all so much for listening. I'm going to go wheeze out there.
Just go wheeze for a little bit. Call me Weezer. Time to go.
All right. We hope you guys all enjoy the Esports Rewind podcast. Make sure to leave a comment. If you guys want to leave a like, that's so sick. Hunter, you want to show them out the door?
You're so sick, dude, actually, bro.
Which means you're going to be sick, bro.
No, dude, you're sick.
Dude, you're freaking sick, bro.
Dude,
what's up? For sure. We'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.
My hands were sweaty. I apologize.